Welcome all. It's draft night again on Primetime Mock, the show where we bring you a different industry draft with special guests from all over the fantasy community every single week. I'm the host of this draft party, Mark Shu. You can find me on Twitter at Primetime Mock. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. We have a great show tonight. It is the last prime time of the season, and we are really excited to get this draft going tonight. We got a super flex draft, and before we get into that, I just want to say, fantasy football, we are still accepting your submissions. Go over to at Fantasy FFB Show and find more information. Go into the pin tweet. You'll find a submission form and get yourself signed up. We're really excited about it. All right, we're going to get right into it right now. First up, he's my buddy, the commish from Rise or Fall and Going for Two. It's Chris Moshinskie. What's going on, Chris?
What's up, Mark? I mean, I don't think I'm a guest at this point anymore. Like in my house, if you're here more than once, you got to get your own like drinks and food. So I'm surprised you still introduced me because I feel like, I've been here quite often, and I love every time. So I'm really excited. Obviously, I worked with you and Tobe before, but the other guys that we were going to introduce, I have not had the pleasure of like working with on a show. So I'm pretty pumped that they were able to make it tonight and join you guys.
Oh yeah. We're happy to have you too, man. Absolutely. You are definitely not company anymore. You just show up. You're here, man. Same with Z2 down there.
I know. We'll get to Tobe too. Him too, for sure.
All right. Next up from the Hot Take podcast, we got Mr. Josh Dalley. Josh, what's going on, man?
What's going on, Mark? Appreciate you having me on, man. Excited to be here for the first time, and I'm excited to know that you poured a mule just for this specific draft.
Oh, I had to get it for the draft, and I had to get it for you, Josh. We're both mule guys. I had to make sure that I showed up.
Yeah, yeah, you're doing it right.
Hey, Mark, we only got one QB in our draft here. We got to get this switched over to Superflex.
Oh, it's over to Superflex.
It's over to Superflex.
Isn't it?
Oh, you mean the draft?
No, we only got one flex spot, no super flex here. I just drafted Pat Mahomes 102. I'm like, no.
It's all right. We're gonna pretend that's a super flex. You just keep going. I'll fix that right now, guys. Let's go into our next guest real quick. It wouldn't be a primetime mock if there wasn't something going wrong and something figuring out. We always have fun. We'll own up to those mistakes. But next up, we've got a very special guest from the Rumboyz Fantasy Network, Mr. Rumboyz Robbie. He's back again. What's going on, Robbie?
Ladies and gentlemen, what's good? Hey, cheers to me. Cheers to you. Shout out to the whole Primetime Mock crew. Dalley, let's get into it. I'm ready. I'm ready to kick ass.
Let's go.
Water. Let's roll.
Let me tell you something, Robbie. Last time you were on here, I went back and checked. Now I don't have a lot of subscribers or a lot of followers, but you put up the last show you were on had the most views of all my videos on YouTube. So let's see. It wasn't a lot, 32, but let's see if we can get past.
Let's see if I can do it. You know what? Hey, let me go on Twitter really quick. Hold on. I got you.
Okay.
We're gonna make it do it. Shit.
I'll probably get more views if I remember to switch my draft over to Superflex on time, right? That would be the
I read the mock title.
Yeah, you could have just drafted like it was a Superflex. The rankings would have gone, but we're going to do it proper here. It's all right. All right, and from the new Tripwire podcast with Triple Play Fantasy and Real Deal Fantasy HQ, it's our guy, Z2, Tobe Zientek. What's going on, man?
Doing great. Glad to be back. I think it's the 5th time.
The Five Timers Club. It is the most exclusive club, and it is only you that's in there. So I don't know what that says, but we're happy to have you back, man.
Hey, I was on the first and on the last. I'm glad.
That's right. We got to come full circle, man. So I love having you here.
You got to add Rumboyz to that repertoire now.
That's right. Well, I hope that I could roll a little more with Rumboyz. Either you can come on my shows, I can come on your shows. We can make that work.
You guys need the five timer jacket, like when you come on the fifth time, like they do on Saturday Night Live.
We need some smoking jacket or something. That's right. I need to get a couple smoking jackets for you for the 5 timers. Josh, this is your first time, but I was happy to come on Hot Take last week. And this next guest, I will be on his show tomorrow night. That is from the Point After podcast. It's Julian Barnett. Julian, what's going on, man?
How you doing, Mark? Thanks so much for having me on, man. This is going to be awesome. This is a great crew. We got a mock draft going on. I'm pumped for this. I just got home. I walked in the door 2 minutes before we got on here, and I'm feeling ready to draft, ready to talk some football. We're ramping up for the season. And, this is a great way to get my weekend kicked off. I've got my show tomorrow on Friday, on Friday nights, 9 p.m. You're coming on that tomorrow, Mark. And then we've got on Saturday, I'm going to be recording an episode with a good buddy of mine for his YouTube channel, Coach Craig Sport. You can find him on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and you can check out that episode there as well. So, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at @thepointafterff, and I'm just happy to be here and kick it with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, Julian. We're happy to have you. And we're about to get into this draft here again, super flex draft. Now that I've changed the setting before we got too far down into it, But before that, I do want to say this is our last show, Primetime Mock for the year. Mock draft season is coming to an end, but this is not the last you are going to see of me. Obviously, I talked earlier about fantasy football, the reality competition I've been putting together. We're going to be premiering that in the fall. But the other exciting thing is we're going to be doing live best ball parties instead of mock draft parties. We're going to be putting money down, and we're going to be playing best ball on Wednesday nights during the season. So if you want to play best ball on Underdog, we got something in the works. I can't quite confirm or deny what's going on with us in Underdog, but we will be doing Underdog drafts starting at the start of the season. So we are really excited about that. Unfortunately, Primetime Mock is coming to a close, but we are just here to celebrate it tonight, guys. I'm ready to have a great time.
Hey, Primetime Mock might be coming to a close. I don't say nothing about Primetime Draft,
That's we got to workshop a name. We got to workshop a name.
Got a business,
Primetime. Well, that's Primetime Best Ball, Primetime, whatever you want to call it. Primetime Daily, Primetime. Yeah, we could figure something out. Primetime Draft. I like that too.
AKA Mr. AKA.
That's right.
Oh my God.
You got to do PTBB. That's what you got to hashtag PTBB.
All right,
Yo, it would be me and St. Pat next to each other though, and he watches so much Rumboyz that oh shit. See, there we go. All right.
I felt like Moshi was doing the same thing to me. He put me. I took the 12, but he decided to put me right up against the corner. So
I did.
You've been on enough of my shows the past couple of weeks that you know who I want to take.
It's like playing fucking poker.
This really is.
I think of it like chess, man. It's like you got to know what your guys are doing a step ahead.
Yeah, well, I just realized who was next to me in the draft. To be honest, as soon as you put up on the board, I was like, oh wow, everything just finally clicked. And then Toby's here too. I'm a space away from Toby, so I don't have to worry about too much about Toby. But Pat. I've never met Pat. Here's the thing. I've never met Pat, right? So, I've been on shows with you guys. Some of you, stuff this is different. This is going to be, this is what, hey, I want good entertainment tonight. Y'all want pay-per-view? 6 and 7 right there. Ooh, beautiful right there at 5.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to do.
Saquon and Najee. Yeah. Or sorry, you said 6 and 7?
Or what happened right there? 5 with Gibson going. That's what I was gonna do, but I think it's 5 just because I was like, I'm gonna have to get a quarterback. I didn't want to get no sucky ass quarterback. Probably should have now.
Sure. Yeah. So we're doing a super flex draft. I want to talk. I always like to start off talking a little bit about strategy. Obviously, you don't need to fill 2 quarterback positions, but it does help a lot, and it certainly helps a lot to have some of those top quarterbacks who give you rushing yardage as well. What are we looking for at a super flex when we're drafting at this point? Are we pretty much trying to get quarterbacks in that top half, or do we have a favorite running back maybe that we're taking, somebody else that established edge? I really like the fact that Travis Kelce, whether it's a tight end premium or not. I love having Travis Kelce as one of my first picks in a super flex if I can't get one of those top few quarterbacks that I'm eyeballing.
Yeah, I've always been a running back early kind of guy. I mean, super flex is a little bit different, but this year I've been all about Kelce in the first round. So I was kind of hoping you wouldn't take him there, but I wanted to lock in Herbert. I do want to take one of these few quarterbacks early on. If he wasn't there, I was probably going to go running back. But, yeah, Kelsey is definitely worth a first-round pick. I don't care if it's tight end premium or not. He's so far ahead of anybody else that it gives you such a great advantage.
You're getting the PPR points out the backfield with that stack.
Oh, guys, I am on the clock right now, so I'm just going to talk you through my pick here. So I went Pat Mahomes, obviously, with the 102. I was hoping Tyreek could maybe slide back to me. I could go that zero running back, robust game, but that didn't happen. So I'm kind of looking at BPA here. I like the looks of Devonte Adams, another year with Aaron Rodgers. Some of these tight ends, too, like we talked about those big three. And also the quarterbacks are pretty interesting. I'm looking at Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, Matt Stafford, but I do think that I could wait a little bit on one of those guys and still lock up a great QB2. So I'm going to go ahead and take who I think is the best talent on the board in Devonte Adams.
Fuck.
I like it. I like it a lot. It would have been so sweet to get that Hill stack. I thought it might have been coming.
I thought it was going to happen. I really did, but here we are.
I've seen that all the time.
He falls far in Superflex. You might almost normally see him like in the first round in a regular 1 QB, but he falls really far when the quarterbacks come in on the first and second round.
Here's my thing, and here's my critique with that. I don't know why you think of have you ever played Super Mario, my guy? Like that's like man. That's too much multiplier. I get having Hill, and I think Hill, could be debatable as my receiver 1 or 2, but I would never pass up that stack. I've had a Josh Allen step on stack in Superflex. That's a championship right there. That's a championship and a half, bro.
Sure, and I think it was the fantasy footballers who just put out something about how stacking in season long doesn't always correlate to wins as much as it does with best ball, but when you do have that stack and it hits, it's like unbeatable. When you have those stacks, it is. I don't hate the idea. I think in Superflex you can stack actually a little bit easier because you have, especially with those early high end receivers, you can stack pretty well with a quarterback. If you get an Allen or if you get a Mahomes or even Murray or Dak, and you can stack them with Tyreek Hill, you can stack Murray with Hopkins. I like that approach if you're looking for that extra like upside to make sure you win a week.
Good move.
Did you say stack Murray with Hopkins? Did you say something?
Yeah, right when you said it, you did it, and honestly, like I
love it.
We call that. That was an assist. We call. Yeah. I just dimed Josh's team.
It was D Hop or it was Kittle. So
that's right. There you go.
That's kind of where I was leaning anyway.
You know what?
No.
I'm taking what I know. I'm reaching. I'm gonna go Chris Carson right there. I could have went. I could have went a direction and then DeAndre. Everyone knows I'll never have million years. Yeah, see, wow, Mix is falling. I love that. Mix, yeah. But yeah, I could have went a direction. I'm gonna just go Chris Carson. Safe pick.
I would take Mixon there, but to be honest, like I still like Carson a lot. He's as far as a running back goes, he's everything you kind of want. If you're one of those guys that's a ground and pound player, like a ground and pound coach like Pete Carroll, you want Chris Carson. He's a hard nosed back. He's a bruiser. He's he doesn't always stay healthy, but he's not much. He's not like exactly a horrible player. He's not a player that gets injured more often than any other running back. And when he's on the field, he's just great for you. I'm waiting to see what Moshi does here. We're getting a tear through running back here, so I wonder where that stops.
Yeah, well, my cue is now gone, so your guess is as good as mine here. But since I never want to be at the end of a run, so I'm gonna kind of pivot here, and I'm gonna go. I'll take DK Metcalf here.
Oh no! You sniped me on air. The only one that was in my queue left.
You can blame Mixon and Swift going off the board. I mean, Mixon. Robbie talking about Mixon dropping. That's a pretty far drop for me, and I would love to have him there, but sorry.
I thought that he could. I feel like Mixon could have kept balling. I would have put the hand out of the
All right.
Just
well, this is a rough. You know what? I'll do one thing here. I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna pivot.
Okay.
What in the Madden is happening over there?
And I'm gonna.
Oh wow! Come on!
I would have. If
the fuck was that? Oh, come on, man!
I know you like Terry, but I had to take him. I had to go with him, man.
Damn it!
There's a lot of good wide receivers that come through here. I was in a very weird spot. If you're in the 12 spot, and I've done this a couple times, being on the end in a super flex draft, that third round turn, that 3-4 turn, you run out of all the running backs and you run out of all the quarterbacks. So the second that I knew, if I was hoping that somebody would fall, I might have taken, and he's going to go anyway, James Robinson. But why not take two guys that I love in Jefferson, who, an unbelievable rookie season, could end up being one of the best receivers in the league this year. And Terry McLaurin, who is also a huge rising star. So if I'm going to go no quarterback, I'm going to make sure that I have just 4 absolute studs at my first running back, at tight end 1, and my first 2 wide receiver spots.
Yeah, that's a pretty good strategy. No quarterback in Superflex makes me real nervous. But as long as the scoring is not like a Scott Fish kind of scoring, I think you can get by with the Baker Mayfields, like a Big Ben type guy later on.
Sure.
But yeah, you locked in the number 1 tight end, two wide receiver 1, and then Zeke Elliott, who also could be top 5 too. So that's a solid start for sure.
I think yours is kind of similar to mine, Chris. You just went with the quarterback instead of the tight end.
Yeah.
You still found a guy in Herbert, two studs. The Tannehill news, especially starting the year, I think he'll probably be all right, and he'll be back soon. But him having this COVID issue makes a lot of these guys kind of scary now when you're watching them, and they're going to have 10 days minimum where they're out of the facility. If that happens on a Saturday, you're missing 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's scary.
It makes it scary to me.
Yeah, that's a tough situation to be in, and I just want to say here, I'm up in 20 seconds here, guys, and I've got I got some options on the board. I think there's still a top tier of wide receivers available, but I was looking over some of my projections this past week, and there's 30 wide receivers that I'd be comfortable rolling out there on a weekly basis. There's so many talented players at the position that's why we see them fall like this, in these kinds of drafts. And after talking about the wide receiver position, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go ahead and take Jalen Hurts, who I believe is a really, really great quarterback. I'm the first guy to lock. I'm the second team here to lock up 2 quarterbacks. And in a super flex league, I feel really comfortable, going out and getting those 2 early quarterbacks. I know that I can attack a guy later in the draft, to shore up some depth. But I've played the game where you wait on the quarterback, and even like you guys had mentioned earlier, Scott Fishbowl settings makes it real tough. You really can't do that. Even in your standard leagues, like Superflex leagues like this, I feel like you get such an advantage by putting a guy who can get 30 points on any given week into those 2 spots. And so when you go out and you get 2 guys who can do that, if you're you stock up on running backs, it's fantastic. But they don't always produce, right? We expect them to, they don't always. And so, that's how I feel about the quarterback position when we get into, the tier that falls off. So yeah, thanks for listening to my explanation of Superflex quarterbacks.
No,
Thank you for coming from my TED Talk.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was trying to say.
No, you're 100% when you were, before you were talking about the quarterbacks, just kind of come full circle with that. You mentioned how deep receiver is, and it's not just deep as a whole, but it's really deep up top too, and it's when you get into super flex draft, it's kind of hard to just watch, and it's kind of tough to really comprehend seeing guys like Hill and Adams going, almost in the third round, back into the second. So it's definitely a different animal for sure.
Yeah. No,
What you got?
Okay, I'm struggling here, guys. I've got a lot of things running through my head. I love Hawk here, but without a tight end premium, it makes it nervous. I feel like I got to go running back because they're not going to come back to me. But this is a big tier drop off. So, you know what? I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going TJ Hawkinson, who I have as my tight end.
Do it. I love it.
Yeah, I'm all in. Let's go.
Julian, I want to go back to Jalen Hurts for a second because I'm not really a believer. I'm not really a believer in the Eagles all that much this year, especially, it didn't look great last week, but I don't necessarily care too much about preseason, but I guess my question to you is
Tobe.
We haven't necessarily seen it from Jalen Hurts as a passer in this league. How many games, if he can't keep the offense going beyond what he's doing rushing, how many games do you think that he can sort of stick around on this team before they say, you know what, this isn't working, we need to move on?
Well, Joe Flacco's not going. He's not taking that job. So, I think he's got a quite a long leash. A lot of people are talking about him, potentially losing this job. And really, I think you got to see what you got in the kid. How do you play a guy for 4 weeks? He balls out for those 4 weeks and then knocks him out the full season. You got to, you at least got to see what you got in him. And so I think he's on the field. I don't think Jalen Hurts is in a position to get benched this year. Unless they're so bad that they're okay, we're just going to throw the season, we'll move on and we'll get an early pick and we'll draft a quarterback with that pick. If it's that bad, and I don't believe it will be, I don't think it's going to be him relying on the passing or his rushing ability. But I love Devonta Smith. I wasn't a huge fan of Rager last year, but I'm a fan of what this offense is doing and some of the pass catchers they brought in, and Quez has looked good, and albeit it's preseason and all that jazz. We're gonna see what happens when we get out there in week 1. There's been a bunch of double, 2 tight end sets, and if Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert become this possession type wide receiver for Jalen Hurts, I don't see how he doesn't crack into that top 10 with the rushing floor that he has. So that's, for me, it's just an upside pick, especially in a super flex like this. If he does hit and he brings that rushing upside every single week, you could be looking at a top 5 quarterback. I don't have him projecting there, but it could happen, if all the cards go right.
Sure. Robbie, I don't mind the Matt Ryan pick, but I gotta say, when Chris Godwin goes right after it doesn't look as good.
Hey, I need to stir up a second QB. I think Matty Ice is usually he's gonna get you 4K yards through the air. He's gonna freaking get 26 plus touchdowns, 20 plus touchdowns this season. He hasn't had a bad year since really 2015, realistically. So I need to ensure that like we said, wide receiver is deep as hell. I'm not fretting on that.
Well, to be fair, man, the drop off after Ryan.
To be fair,
it's pretty big when you look after the quarterbacks coming after Matt Ryan. They're not super exciting.
Yeah, I just need it. Damn, Kirk Cousins almost fell to you, Mark, and I thought that you were going to grab that.
Talk about playing poker and chess, man. I'm afraid Mark's going to take 2 quarterbacks here, and
you should be very afraid that I'm going to take 2.
Yeah, so I don't want to get stuck. I don't want to get stuck with who else is left after this. So I had to take Kirky Cousins right there.
Chris, I just got to say, I love what you're doing with your team, man. I love that Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert stack at the beginning, and then, the 2 elite talents in Metcalf and A.J. Brown, and followed up with Kirk Cousins, who's just as consistent as they get. That's a very well-rounded start. That's a strong team.
I'm doing it. I don't care. I'm doing both of these rookies right now, and we're rolling with it. We're rolling with it, guys. We're going. I've been doing this too much in best ball, but I don't care. I'm still going for it, man.
I'm so concerned that Lance does not play a game this year.
You know what the best part? Hold on, before you dismiss this idea. You know what the best part about this is? Even in superflex leagues, you know who people don't draft? Jimmy Garoppolo and Andy Dalton.
Right.
So if you, at the very worst, if you wanted to, you could pick them up right now, and you could just have the starting quarterback until they start. And why? So why not go for these two guys who are so high upside, have that rushing ability, and honestly have been playing lights out in the preseason, playing very well, showing well in camp, nothing but good things in training camp. I love that steady drumbeat. And if I am going to be the guy who's the last one to take quarterback, I've got to be thinking upside. So that's where I'm going.
Dig it.
Can I just say that you guys are crushing me on running back. Going into the third round when Swift and Mixon were gone, I'm like, got to pivot. Then I come to terms with the fact that I'm going to take Josh Jacobs or Miles Sanders here, and then those guys are gone. So I have so much anxiety only having one running back right now. Like, this is not me, but I do. I mean, the team looks pretty good. Besides that, it's going to get a little sketchy here. But when it comes to running backs, I love, obviously the guys in the top 12 or 13 are going to be great. I think it gets real murky from 14 to 25, and there's some guys later on that I mean, I don't know if I should say it now or not, but there's guys that I like a little bit later that I think are going to produce solid RB2 numbers for most of the season. So,
wow, I just got put into a crazy fucking position. Well, I wasn't ready for that.
Got to pivot.
No, I mean, I was expecting someone to make a decision for me in the beginning. So the board is just wide open. Actually, I do know. Do that. I'm gonna do that.
There you go.
Hopefully it's safe. I was about to go Daryl Henderson. And I was like, I don't believe in the man. I feel like that.
You got to get your guys. You always do. You got to enjoy who you're playing with, man.
Yeah, I listen. He was the most boringest motherfucker I've ever met in my life. So yeah, I'm not. He just as boring as the way he plays.
What are you thinking here, Josh?
Well, there's a couple guys on. You're going to see there's a couple guys on Sleeper that you can really get at a bargain if you're using the default rankings. The default rankings.
Before you go on, you can do that in just so you know, you can do that in just about every platform. 100%. You can always find a few players that are never quite at the ADP. ADP is so completely saturated now. There's 5, 6, 7, 8 respectable ADPs now. So you can always find a few people on each one. Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. I mean, I'm trying to make it, as realistic as possible. If I was really building this team, I was trying to go for the ship. And so I'm looking at, there was a couple of receivers though. They all had same bye week, and I already have, Trevor Lawrence and CeeDee Lamb both have week 7 buys. So basically, I went with Julio. It was between Woods and Julio, and then Woods went right after that. But there's a guy I'm looking at here coming in the 7th round that I would have taken in the 6th round if this wasn't Sleeper. So I'm thinking he's going to be there. So before I jinx myself, I'll just shut up and let someone else talk.
Can I say how does Tobe get the values in all of our drafts? I mean, from show 1, he got Ryan Fitzpatrick at the very end. We all missed him. How does Robert Woods fall to wide receiver 21? I think I counted. That dude's
Tobe just keeps his mouth shut. He just lets everybody fall to him. He doesn't say damn thing when he's in the draft room. I bet he's the exact same in every one of his drafts. He just lets everybody talk shit around him, talk about all these great players that are coming up, and he just okay, thank you,
man.
Thank you.
They say G's move in silence, right? So Robert Woods
We just did a home league draft last weekend on NFL, and it was superflex, and I got Mahomes at 4.
What?
And then they let me get the Kelsey stack in the 2nd round.
Oh,
what the hell!
And I got Calvin Ridley in the 3rd round coming back.
That's wild.
And I got the email because NFL sends you an email of what they predict your season is going to be. I got an A+ 14-0 first place.
Oh, nice. That's baller as fuck.
That's the first time I've ever seen it too.
That's wild.
I've never heard of a platform just handing you the ship with no losses.
Now those projections, man, they be wildin'.
That's right.
But I did 2 superflex drafts that day, and I got Mahomes at 4 in both of them.
Wow.
What the? Man, I shouldn't have picked the 2.
All right, folks, I want to go back here to this first. I always like to go to the top 60 of these drafts and to sort of go over some picks that are maybe a little off to us. I'm seeing Dak Prescott fall. He was a guy who was going in like the top 6 picks a lot of times in Superflex. He's going to the back of the to the beginning of the second round here, 203. I know that he's got the shoulder issue, and you've got that Adam Schefter news. We all were at least willing to pass up on him once. So what are we thinking about Dak Prescott?
So with Dak, I don't know if he's necessarily going to be healthy. That's why I have no Dak exposure this year. I think I maybe have like one league where I do have Dak. I don't like to go into a season with unknowns on my roster. I like to try and roster as much consistency as I can get away with. So I mean, that's just why I've been avoiding Dak, and I've just been pivoting around that. So I mean, but also to each their own. I love that Logan Thomas pick right there. By the way,
That's the guy. That's the guy. I would have taken him last round, but he's so down on sleeper rankings. He's buried. So I was definitely looking at him, but no, I agree with your comments on Dak too. By the way, you know, Mark, you were on our show on the hot take, and we were doing our over unders, and we were talking about Dak's yardage total for the season. And although that may have been on the cutting room floor, you know, I think I was like the only one that was on the over, and I just think the Dallas's defense is not going to be, you know, as good. I mean, I think they could be equally as bad as they were last year. I mean, adding Michael Parsons is huge, but they could still be in a position. I don't think they're going to, you know, we talked about, you know, even if it was down like 10-15%, I mean, you're still getting, you know, an excellent passing totals from Dak. And then, you know, obviously the only question is health right now. So we'll see what happens.
It does worry me, his health, just a little bit. But I guess it depends how far he falls. Because like Robbie, I don't really like when you break that injury seal, especially sort of in training camp, throughout training camp. Usually I'm looking more at running backs than anybody, but it's, you know, it does worry me with Dak, especially coming off the ankle, wondering how much he's going to protect that ankle early in the season, just while he's trying to figure out if he's quite right, which they're saying he might not be quite right all season. Plus now the shoulder, it does feel like he should have made. I think that this move back into the second round is probably warranted. How far are we willing to let him fall, though? Does anybody have it? Like where are we willing to say, like, all right, fine, if he's here, I'll take him?
See, I think that all depends on how you are as a manager. For me, I will let him fall to whoever else. So the same thing that happened with we witnessed it here at the running back position with Mixon. The same thing that I did and I confess to with Mixon is the same thing that I'm willing to do with Dak. I mean, and it's nothing about, you know, Dak as a player, as an NFL player. I was one of the people, you know, that you know, when he had his preseason breakout and replaced Tony Romo, when I was still like in my youth years, I was like, yo, like this guy is gonna ball out. You know, here it is now that I'm 30, and I'm just now finally pushing away from Prescott as Prescott being king. You know, for the longest time in this league, he was singing that Lion King song, "Oh, I just can't wait to be king," and now that's not happening.
Guys, how are you letting me get Trey Sermon now? Come on.
You can have him.
Yeah, you can have him.
You can have him.
What? Oh, come on. Come on. What do we have against Trey Sermon?
There's
It's just not
84
proven.
running backs there.
Yeah.
He might be the best one, but he's still going to be sharing a whole lot of work with, especially if Trey Lance is the quarterback there, as you're hoping for. Trey Lance is the RB1 for the Niners, in my opinion.
That's fair. That's true. But, you know, they put the capital in him. He's a third-round pick. They traded up to get him into that third round. when you have that capital behind you, you have a player that they're willing to invest capital in honestly a running back room that they haven't really spent a lot of capital on before.
Right.
He's been playing well. He's been able to play with the first team and play well. He's looked okay in preseason from what I've seen. Not that I'm saying that preseason is everything. I really don't want anyone to think that I really base everything I do on preseason. It's quite the opposite. But I think he's been looking good. Matt Waldman, of the rookie scouting portfolio, had him as his number one back coming out of this class before he was even drafted. And we're seeing it now on the field. So I'm willing to take a shot. It's the 7th round here. I need a second running back. And again, looking for upside in that spot. So I'm going to take it.
Mark, this isn't a rookie draft, right? With your last 3 picks.
I did
4 picks now.
Yeah. What can I say? I'm a sucker for the running quarterbacks and the upside. But again, you can't enjoy fantasy football if you're not going to draft players you like. And I like all these players, so I'm gonna.
Good pick, Chris.
I'm gonna plant my flag on these guys.
I just wanted to add. With the Trey Sermon pick, I think part of the reason that the Niners were confident to trade up for him in the 3rd round is the actual talent level in the real NFL kind of falls off after him. And so they wanted to make sure they bring in a guy who they can put into this offense, who can produce, so they're not having to rely on, undrafted free agents like Raheem Mostert, but I do think they'll still use this committee. Like, they brought in Wayne Gallman. I'm a big Jeff Wilson fan. When he gets healthy, he can go out and pop off 3 touchdowns a game. And you just don't know when it's going to come. So Trey Sermon, I love as a best ball pick, but in a weekly starting format, I'm just kind of shying away because I'm not really sure when I'm going to be able to play him.
So, it's pretty obvious at this point. I know that I still did take a second running back in my first 7.
This is my first time ever doing this and I'm doing that.
Go for it, man. I was actually thinking about taking him other than
this off, Robbie.
Damn it, Robbie.
The timing seems right here in the 8th round. It really does.
He was my next pick.
I thought about him. About him too.
I had him on my queue. That's an official snipe.
Well, had no one ever taken Logan Thomas, in the 7th round, which I thought he was going to keep falling, that would have never happened. So this is y'all's fault.
Blame it on Josh. It's his first time here. The new guy here. It's all your fault, Josh.
No, it's all good, man. I had a plan B. We were just talking about Trey Sermon. Honestly, someone's going to land, a major lottery ticket. If this is, the Raheem Mostert rejuvenation season, that can be league winning. I think Trey Sermon, in all probability, I think this offense is going to be explosive once Trey Lance gets behind the wheel, but it's going to kind of trend toward getting younger, as the season goes on. But, you could have a league winner either way. And I think that there's a huge drop off after Damian Harris and Raheem Mostert. Michael Carter, not coincidentally, went right after that. And those are like the last 3 running backs that are the starter. So
don't remind me, Josh.
And Josh, falls man,
off a cliff after that.
Josh, you make such a great point that I really love is, you think that Trey Sermon is the likely starter, but you still took Raheem Mostert. The thing is, in this part of the draft, like in these rounds, that bet is what, like 60-40 either way?
Yes, yeah,
it's essentially
shots.
It's essentially a coin flip. So you might like Trey Sermon better than Raheem Mostert, and that is totally fine. Obviously, I do. But it doesn't mean I'm not taking a shot on Mostert. It doesn't mean that I'm just saying, like, I believe in this guy and I don't believe in Mostert, and I'm not going to draft him at all. Because to be honest, the difference, we're at the point now where it doesn't actually really matter all that much based on your capital, what you're spending on a player. We're getting to that point where it's not really all that valuable what number pick you have and where you're taking a player, because all the best players have really gone at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So what you're doing is playing these bets that you have to hedge. And if you don't hedge, you miss out on players that might end up being league winners for you.
Yeah, you have to take a shot on some of these guys in the middle rounds. These backfields that are a little murky. Buffalo is another one. I almost said Baltimore on accident, but it's kind of true. when you look at the scenario there as well. I mean, right now it looks like Gus Edwards has been running with the ones a little more than Dobbins lately. So yeah, don't tell anybody. But we, that's the thing, is that's how we win championships, is we go after those guys that can just have the league winning upside. I mean, this isn't shit.
That just happened. Here goes the reaches. The reaches are about to start happening. That happened. That fucking happened. Wow.
Let's see if you think this one's a reach.
No.
Oh boy.
No. I've seen that a lot. I've seen that a lot.
I love this value, man. I really do. Like, I know there's a lot of concerns that come along with Will Fuller. A lot of concerns. We got injury. He's suspended for the first game of the year. He's never been able to stay healthy. Yeah, all of those things are not in his favor. But what is in his favor is that when he's on the field, the guy balls out. And so if he can put together a full season, if we get 17 games out of Will Fuller where he's streaking down the field and nobody can catch him, and Tua's balling out, the upside in the 9th round here is just, it's unmatched. I really think if the things go right, like Will Fuller, he's produced as a wide receiver 1 a bunch throughout his career. And so, again, like a guy that I'm putting in my flex spot as well, I'm not having to rely on every single week. I can kind of switch these guys in and out. I'm happy to go ahead and take the shot there. And I just wanted to say about the running backs as well. Like, I loved what you said, Josh, because I was eyeing one of those 3 guys to get to me, and, none of them did. Right. And I just wanted to say, this draft is it's so crazy, how one single pick can change everything, right? Like, if Pat Mahomes had gone 101, then I'm taking Christian McCaffrey at the 102, and the whole draft strategy that I have changes. Like, I probably don't go Devonte Adams at the 211. I would, it would go a different way. And so, this isn't like a typical draft for me, but usually I do wait on wide receivers. I spent up a little on Devonte Adams there at the back of the 2nd round, and kind of punting the running back position. Like, it is weak, but I'm not going to reach on. What's Gio Bernard going here? Jimmy, what the hell are you doing, man? Okay,
not to reach.
Talk about a reach, Jimmy. Holy.
I just reached. But I mean, if you guys have
I'm on that.
I'm
on Gage over Fuller and Brown.
Yeah, if anybody's read my article recently on Gage, I mean, I break down every reason. I didn't Gage. All right, if we get a full 17 out of Gage, he came in and only played 8 games last year, and his point total was around where you're getting Boyd, where you're getting Hollywood Brown, where you're getting the Mecole Hardmans and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I took Gage over freaking OBJ. Like, I really think that look, in order for Kyle Pitts to be what the unicorn everyone thinks that he is, we're talking about putting up Jeremy freaking shocking numbers. Okay, so that means what? 896 yards off of what? I think it was like 128 targets. Most tight ends are probably going to see about 90-something targets. At best, if they're really bad. If they're that bad anomaly. Yeah, if he's that anomaly, come on. We weren't expecting – but then again, there's also the argument that we weren't expecting Justin Jefferson to put up Randy Moss-like numbers last year. So – but I don't think that lightning strikes twice, not 2 years back to back. Like, records are hard as hell to break. That's why they're records.
True.
Very true.
What's most likely to happen? What's most likely to happen, right?
Gage being a wide receiver 2, or Pitts having a Jeremy Shockey season. Gage being a wide receiver 2, probably.
I'm with you, Robbie. Yeah, sure, 100%.
I don't know. I'm pulling up my projections here, boys. I've got Kyle Pitts projected for 131 targets, 81 receptions, 950 yards, and 8.
When Calvin Ridley had 143 last year, we're expecting Calvin Ridley to have a drop off then?
So I got Calvin Ridley. Let me pull that up. I got Calvin Ridley for 157 targets, 100 reception, and 1,300 yards. He comes in as my wide receiver 4.
Matt Ryan has never targeted the tight end more than 90 times.
I know, but he's not going to be playing tight end. He's going to be played in the slot. Like, this dude's like he is a tight end.
We haven't seen it yet. Ragnow hasn't even rolled.
Yeah,
starters yet.
We haven't seen it yet. But I mean, we haven't seen Justin Fields. We haven't seen Trey Lance do it on the field yet. And we're spending up to go and grab those guys.
We're seeing them in the preseason. I would take Fields. I was going to wait on Fields. And I almost took Fields over Matt Ryan to pair him up with Allen Robinson, but I was like, that's too much of a risk that I didn't want to take. But what Mark did, I mean, I wouldn't have done the Trey Lance right after. But, I mean, fuck it. Like, I mean, that's a sexy pick in Fields right there. I think Fields is going to be a beast, and he's going to start.
I agree, but I think Kyle Pitts is going to be the same in the same conversation. Like, this guy is, a generational talent. I really, truly believe that. I watch a lot of film, and, I broke this guy down so many times, and just the things that he does, he plays wide receiver at an elite level, and now he's playing against linebackers who are trying to cover him. Like, it's not fair. Like, he's so good, man. I can't toot the Kyle Pitts horn enough. Like, And I do believe that he can see that volume, because we saw Julio go this past year. And like, if you're going to tell me that they're going to target Russell Gage over Kyle Pitts just because Russell Gage came in and did it last year, like, I just don't believe that. Like, you give the ball to your playmakers, put the ball in the best player on the field.
He is a
nice late
playmaker.
stack, though. That's a nice late value stack. I mean, either way, Ryan's going to chuck it 650 times. I mean, that's
exactly.
Like
so that's what I'm saying.
He's going to get his too. So I think that's an awesome late stack. Pulling through Matt Ryan, like we mentioned, Robbie pulled the trigger on Matt Ryan, and it just kind of like a drop off of quarterbacks after that. I think a lot of that has to do with the volume, but to get one of the main, 3 targets in that offense, I mean, there's going to be a lot of targets to be had for sure.
Yeah.
And I do want to say one quick thing about Pitts, though, because again, we don't know what's going to happen, and more than likely he's not going to break the mold. But ultimately he's already kind of breaking history with the kind of tight end he is. This is the highest a tight end has ever been drafted. It is the highest non-quarterback offensive player taken in the history of the NFL draft. He was already being talked about as being designated as a wide receiver. And if you look at the guys that are in the mold that we hope Pitts to be, like a Kelsey, like a Waller. Those are the guys that don't just play the tight end, in the tight ends, in the slot where, up against the line where the tight end is playing. They split out wide. They provide those mismatches. And I mean, I'm not saying that you should draft Kyle Pitts I wouldn't even say in the majority of your leagues, but I do not want to leave. I play enough leagues and we all, I think, play enough leagues to feel like you should not leave this fantasy draft season without at least a little bit of Kyle Pitts.
No. I mean, I have Kyle Pitts exposure. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a fool, Yeah, I have Kyle Pitts exposure. I mean, but it's just like, if I'm going to miss out on Ridley and Pitts, but then I could snatch Ryan later after those two. In my mind, I'm already thinking about about Gage later on. Sure. It's just kind of one of those things. Like, that's why I thought that honestly, I wrote an article about this a little while ago. That's what I thought that was going to happen with you with Jefferson, and then Cousins went a pick before you, and that was just really good fantasy football defense. Like, that's just that's just Kamish playing the game, reading the hand, and it's like, I can't let that happen. Like if I let that happen, I'm potentially going to now be in the position where I have to get Fields on a turn. And like, instead of getting Fields, like, or instead of getting Mark Andrews, like, that's a fucked up position to have to put yourself in. So it's just, yeah.
Oh, and let me throw this last point out. Is the Atlanta Falcons drafted Kyle Pitts at number 4 overall, passing on all of these quarterbacks that we all love when they they're going to need a quarterback. Wouldn't it have made sense to draft a quarterback, let him sit behind Matt for a year, and then build your team around this young gun moving forward? No, they went out and got this guy, Kyle Pitts, that they believe is going to be a true playmaker, even more so than a quarterback would be. That's why I believe so much. We talk about draft capital all the time. I believe he's an absolutely insanely talented player. So that's my Kyle Pitts love in a nutshell.
I'll just say, if the Falcons take a quarterback at 4, then you're going to start a competition that I don't think you really want. I mean, Matt Ryan can still throw the ball and be pretty good at it.
Pat Mahomes, though, like, he sat behind Alex Smith. And, like, if you draft a guy and you bring them into that culture, like, you're going to sit for a year, you're going to learn how the NFL game is played, and then you're going to go out and ball out in year 2, year 3. Like, you can be a transcendent talent.
I'm not going to lie. I think that Atlanta was praying to God that the San Francisco 49ers actually drafted Mac Jones so they could take Trey Lance. That's what I really think happened. Right. And when they didn't, they said, let's just take the best offensive weapon that we can in this draft, and then we can hopefully find a quarterback next year that we can have 2 great offensive weapons in Ridley and Pitts to sort of provide a safety blanket for that quarterback. So, yeah, I don't know what the Falcons' season is going to look like, but, yeah, they're going to need a quarterback soon.
That defense is going to be trash. I can tell you that. So,
Yeah.
there's
They're
the
passing
reason
a lot.
he's going to be. Yeah, there's the reason.
At the
that
very
he'll get
least,
the
they've got a
650.
quarterback who can pass a lot. You know, like it's
Yeah.
gonna be a horrible season for Falcons fans, but it'll be great for fantasy. So that's a good thing.
Well, just one last point on that is, last time Mahomes was the last time we saw a quarterback basically sit a whole season. Like the last quarterback to do that was picked in the first round was like Jake Locker. Which was pretty obvious, why they did that. But when you look at the scenario of the Falcons and kind of how strapped they were, for salary cap, I mean,
yeah, it's true. It's tough to go and take a quarterback in that first round and have to pay him his rookie premium. Yeah, that's fair.
And they get the age reset by moving Julio, and they do get an offensive weapon because the Falcons really aren't picking that high, a whole heck of a lot. So it's it kind of makes sense for them to reload, so to speak, but surprisingly they didn't address the defense also at the same time.
Yo, I'm not gonna front. This late QB love is like it's kind of dope, honestly. Like that Derek Carr. I mean, that Derek Carr pick is so. I get it. Yeah, he pads his stats by his conservative play because he doesn't take the gambles. I mean, because he's afraid of his coach, and who wouldn't be afraid of Rudy's crazy psychotic ass?
That dude's freaky.
And then Mac Jones, like Ryan Fitz, like I don't like the Watson pick just because I don't think it's going to happen, and we're not going to bring that up because cancel culture's out there right now on Twitter. But I'm going to get in on the late round QB love, and I'm going to stack up again.
There you go. I was hoping Fitz got to me, and I was low key hoping that I could do a Juju and Ben stack, and both of them went from me. I'm a little upset, but that's all right.
Dude, I'm right now, like because of the way that the draft began trending, I honestly thought that I had, and it was stupid of me to fucking think it honestly at the 7th spot, but I really thought that there was a chance that Adams could have fell to me. I mean, it looked like everyone was going, super running back, super, quarterback heavy. Like I figured like a couple receivers were going to get sprinkled in there.
Sure.
I thought that I've still till this very moment in this podcast still say that you have opportunity at Diggs, and I don't know why you didn't do that, Z2, but it is what it is. Taking Hill there, where I really thought that I had an opportunity at Adams. So after Rodgers will be my QB1, of course, but I need some firepower at QB2, and I need to be able to interchange the two of them matchup dependent.
Yeah.
Right. Play the matchup if you can.
Oh, and they're both voluminous guys too. That's what I like about what you went and did there is like you can really play this matchup, and that in the right one, either of these guys could throw the ball 35, 40 times in a game, where you're really like projecting for that, big upside week with, both Matt Ryan and Big Ben. So I like that move, man. Appreciate
it, man. I mean, this is a really tough draft. I mean, I'm seeing players move and go in places. I haven't seen it in a hot minute. So, I mean, you can tell that preseason is definitely having an effect.
Oh, yeah.
Even with Michelle already being drafted, you can tell just trade news had effect too.
I reached a little on Michelle, but it's just
it's just a hunch.
Yeah, it was either him or
it's not sexy. It's not sexy. That's why I haven't touched one yet.
Yeah, people say he might be the starter there.
I'm in the not sexy part of my draft as well. I just drafted Gordon and Singletary. So
Singletary, I have a feeling that they have something worked up for Singletary this year, just from what I've seen on film in preseason. I'm like, they're using him differently. He's running a lot differently. I mean, he was already averaging 4.3 per carry.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, Robbie. I have long thought that Singletary has been the better back than Zach Wilson, at least on film. I get that the production does not. What did I say, Zach Wilson?
Yeah.
Which he is a better running back.
He's a better runner than Zach Wilson too, but Zach Moss is who I'm talking about. So Zach Moss, I think that he's a better runner than Zach Moss. I think Moss is kind of a plotter, really, more than anything. But to be honest, with the hamstring injury, it makes it really easy for me to draft Singletary because we talk about hamstrings. Hamstrings are have such a high risk of recurring, especially in the same calendar year that you got them, that it makes Moss for me almost undraftable. So if you don't believe in Singletary and you want to take a shot on Breida, then you should be taking Breida high. But I don't see. I mean, like at this point, I think Singletary is going to, at the very least, he's shown that he's got the veteran presence. I think he's the best looking rusher they have. I get that it's not a huge high volume role with Josh Allen at the goal line. I get that. But at the same time, I think he's going to be that lead guy. And we don't always see these guys, even though he's had a decent market share as far as rushing and receptions over the past 2 years of his career. And this year might be the year he breaks out because he's actually got the opportunity to do so.
Well, I hope you're right because I want to root for Devin Singletary. I think he's a good running back. The issue that I have is, it's just the volume, right? Like with Zach Moss and Josh Allen on the goal line, there's only so many valuable touches to go around. So if he gets involved in the pass game and he's, seeing 15 to 20 touches a game, he's going to be a really good running back. But if he's getting those low value touches where he's just getting the ball between the 20s and he's pounding it for like 4 yards a pop, but he only sees it 10 or 15 times, it's not going to be fantasy relevant. So that's my concern. I just think it's limited upside unless he gets that touchdown upside, and which he's going to be an absolute steal at this point in the draft. So,
but the thing about it is Singletary right now where he's drafted 1201 for me. That is, you are in immediate cut status after week 1. You know what I mean? If you're just going to be the same old Singletary, I'm done with you. Okay, totally fair. That's fine with me. So at 1201, I will take it and decide. If the production is gonna bear out. We will know pretty soon if Singletary is going to be the same old guy or he's going to be something special. And maybe I'll hang on to him till week 2, but I don't know how much longer than that. How many of you are going to give more than 2 weeks to Devin Singletary to prove it? Not many.
No, I mean, I was just going to say it's the same thing we're talking about with the San Francisco backs. One of these guys could just completely emerge and take over everything. And I'll admit, man, I like Zach Moss better, but when you look at everything that's going on, I think Joe Biscaglia is like the only beat writer that reported that Moss would be getting a lion's share of the carries. And I think that was like mostly just like opinion, and then since camp has started and since from what we've seen, dude, Singletary looks like a completely different back so far.
Singletary looks completely different.
Oh, dude, yeah. And to get him this late is just, it's absurd. But any of these guys, like you mentioned, if he comes out and he gets like 36 yards and 1 target in week 1, dude, you're on the thinnest of ice at that point.
Sure. But again, I'm on the hero RB track, so I have to be pushing upside for my back end running back 2s. Like all these guys are potential running back 2s that I can piece together. Dylan, Gordon, Singletary, Sermon. All these guys have different levels of upside that I'm willing to bet on. The fact that I got these 3 back to back to back to me, I really love that for my team as far as upside is concerned. I think they all have different times in the season where they can all really shine. So that's going to help me on a week to week basis. But again, I didn't have a lot to go from as far as running backs that were left. So what I got, I feel like, again, there is a lot of paths to reasonable and valuable production.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I kind of tried to attack my running back room the same way, grabbing Gus Edwards late, Jamal Williams, a guy who could step into opportunity should Swift miss some time. And, and they like him right now. So it seems, and then Tony Pollard, they've mentioned that he's going to get more work. He's going to be more involved in this offense. We'll see if that actually happens. But ultimately, this is just, a high upside guy if Zeke goes down. Like if Zeke goes down, I'm in the 13th round of my draft here. I'm going to grab him, and this is a guy I can cut potentially if we go out there and Zeke looks really good and Pollard really is just a backup. And in that case, I'm fine with going out and doing that. But I am trying to attack that upside. Same with going after one of my favorite rookies in this class, Elijah Moore. I think is a fantastic player and is a guy that I've just been scooping up, in the 11th, 12th round in all of my mocks and all of my drafts lately, just because I think he really does offer, where he can give you top 24 upside, if he becomes a wide receiver 1 and that offense really gets rolling. And who knows if it'll be this year, I'll be honest, but he's a dynasty acquisition that I've been just targeting like crazy. So, yeah.
I just put
Pollard's a
Marquez
good runner.
Callaway in my queue.
Yeah, my bad.
I had him in there last round. I'm like, why is he falling so far?
I had Marvin Jones, and then Pat did Pat things.
Pat won't stop.
Yeah,
I also had Jacoby Myers too, and my brother took him right in front of me as well.
I'm
I
be
had
totally
him as my
honest with you
cue.
guys. I would have
I
took
was-
Marvin
yeah.
Jones. I just didn't see his ass. So that's just me being old and missing Marvin Jones.
You know-
I normally would have stacked up Lawrence right there.
Taking after
Yeah.
Marvin Jones.
You guys know how much I love Callaway and Myers, but where I was, I needed running backs for sure. So I couldn't pull the trigger this time, but I still love Jacoby Myers.
And you got a strong wide receiver room. You don't need to be playing that upside game at the wide receiver position late when you only have, Trey Sermon as your RB2 to
Right.
start week one.
I did not want to deal with freaking Tobe having that Ruggs car stack. I think that Ruggs is going to make a next step this year. I was not going to let that happen. I was like, yeah, no.
He was
No,
also on
because-
my queue, but I didn't say nothing about it.
Yeah, because when
And
Waller's
he
getting-
settled.
when Waller's
He
getting
settled for
doubles-
Carr and Drake. He settled for Carr and Drake.
But he has Waller. But he has Waller.
Yeah.
Fair.
Guys,
Yeah.
Guys, I can't stop drafting Texans, and it's like making me worried. I need some help.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely need some help.
Yeah,
Like, I
that's
don't know
not
what's
great.
wrong with me here. But they
It's
keep
one.
calling
It's
me.
one Texan at most. I think you got to go one Texan. One Texan.
I
That's
I
it.
really like Brandon Cooks, and I really like that Phil Lindsay's going to take control of this like sad-looking backfield. And then Tyrod Taylor only because, again, I thought maybe you might take Taylor. But I usually punt the third quarterback, I feel, in these super flexes when it gets this late. But hopefully he starts, and I think he'll have some value. But
No,
no
Just
more for
don't let
me.
the
No
doctors
more.
near him.
With me drafting my third quarterback where I took Fitzpatrick, I know my running backs weren't great, but I was just going to play value later in the season if somebody needs a quarterback, being this is super flex. So that's why I just didn't.
It's good to have
recharge
one. Yeah, someone's going to
running
want
back.
him if you don't need him.
I mean, Toby, you've taken like 6 dudes that I had like 1 and 2 in my queue. I take one and then you take the next one. Like, I mean, you've done it like six rounds. But Commissioner, I wanted to ask you, man, you take a Texans player, you kind of it's like you go over to like somebody's house and like you eat dinner and like you take like say they got some fried chicken on the table and you eat a little of the fried chicken and you just put one back. You take one and you're like, oh, I'm just feeling so full already. Like you can't go. You like it hurts to go back. Like you don't want
does.
to take another Texan, and when you
I
do,
don't.
you're like, I can't believe I just ate another piece of this nasty ass chicken.
I know.
Yeah,
I
but
just
you're actually
can't help
enjoy
it.
yourself when you're eating fried chicken. You don't enjoy yourself when you're drafting Texans. That's the
Yeah,
difference.
Right.
you don't watch the games. You set the lineup, you don't watch.
Yeah,
Definitely,
yeah.
he's definitely going to have to take a shower.
There's no
after
greasy
this.
finger licking goodness at the end.
He's definitely going to need a shower after this.
Yeah. There's.
Oh my gosh.
Love
Yeah,
it.
you don't want. You got that Texan stack. The problem is like the stack goes in the opposite direction where you go almost negative points with a couple of them.
Hey, they're
When you
going to
put
be
it in your
just
lineup.
fine. I'll plant my flag on a couple of these guys on the Texans. Someone's got to produce points. It's probably going to be Cooks out of anybody, but
It's going to be Cooks. We know that.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
at least I feel like we know that.
Or Nico.
Yeah, you
Collins.
have to. Yeah, you
Nico,
have to
I
go
guess.
with Cook.
I don't know. I just think it's just gonna be like this offense is just gonna be so bad that like how much fantasy value is really gonna be there? Like maybe one player a game is gonna offer you like a top 24 week at the position. It's like that's why for me, I'm just kind of like, I'm just fading like the whole team and just avoiding it as a whole because it could get really murky too. Like David Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, and then they also have Mark Ingram on the roster. Like, I'm not sure what's going on there. They have
Someone's going to get cut probably this week.
Yeah,
Ingram is
exactly.
fucking terrible.
I just don't know who it's going to be. And I mean, like at this point in the draft, it's not like you're risking anything drafting them. So, there's
Right.
no risk. It's fine. But that's just, my personal take. I just kind of am avoiding them because I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of times where you can go out and play them.
12 personnel.
There you go. I like, man, that is so. I can't believe Gesicki's still there, man.
I know it's real late. I was hoping he'd come back to me here.
No, I was like, no, let me get that.
I
I know you-
got Kelsey, and I never looked at tight end again. I swear.
Oh,
I
yeah,
haven't
you
even-
shouldn't,
I don't know if
really.
but yeah, Gesicki's a guy. Usually, I feel like I see him going like in like the 9th or the 10th. And the fact that he's here is I
have two tight ends that I'm high on this year, and both Swerve and Irvin and Sicky Gesicki. So I'm happy with it.
I just wrote today about Irv Smith, and I wasn't really feeling him this year, and I'm surprised you took him when you did. But now I understand it. But to grab Gesicki 5 rounds later is that's pretty insane. But when
I don't see those guys very far apart in terms of finish. But I think there's actually like a lot of value at the tight end position on the board right now. And
the problem though, guys, is we say this every year. We're like, guys, tight end looks really deep this year, guys. I think we might have like 3 or 4 of those guys break into that Travis Kelce tier, guys. And then all of a sudden, no, it's just Travis Kelce, and then everybody else is coming back and being your tight end that you have to stream every single time.
I'm guilty of this as well.
I do it. We all do it. We all do it out here in fantasy Twitter, out in the fantasy community. Tight end's going to be so deep. And then it's like, no, it's just going to be those 3, and that's it.
No, and that's why I think I finally learned Kelce is only – it's a tier for him forever. Maybe Pitts one day, but, yeah, that's why you got to take these guys early or very, very late.
I like that Parker pick right there.
That was
a solid pick.
Yeah, I had Parker in my queue.
I almost took him over Gabe Davis, but I don't know.
To be fair, I took him for Jim there. He was stuck on his. I'm just going to take his pick for him too here now.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the season where he was going, I wasn't getting any Parker, but in some of my best balls lately, he's been falling so far. I mean, it's just kind of absurd. I mean, I get that he isn't really the type of he was like a Fitzpatrick type receiver and not a Tua type receiver, but I mean, this late, you're getting him in the 14th round. Why not?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Originally, guys, here I was actually gonna double tap the Patriots tight ends. That was the original plan, Hunter Henry and then Jonnu Smith. But I'm actually gonna pivot and go and grab another one of my favorite underrated rookies who is basically free in Amon-Ra St. Brown.
God damn it.
Dude's just gonna walk into
that's gonna be in my head forever.
Bad offense.
We're Raz and Chris for the Texans love, but I got TJ Hawkinson and Amon-Ra St. Brown over here, and also Jamal Williams. So it's not like I'm doing any better in this Detroit offense. But it's kind of funny how that all works out, and I'm happy with I think I'm not expecting Jamal Williams to be a guy that I'm going to go out and play every single week, but he's a dude who can step into opportunity. Amon-Ra's a guy who can just he could just take control as the wide receiver 1 there. Right now it looks like it's Tyrell, but we'll really see how long that's going to last. And if he can build some rapport with Goff, even if it's little slot routes, like whatever it is in a PPR type league, I'm in at this price for sure.
That's all that I wanted. All that I wanted was in the draft was me singing that.
Yeah, Perriman might get cut too. So
I saw that too.
Mm-hmm. That's just absolutely nuts. But
are we sure he's going to get cut though? Is that what they're saying? It's likely?
I mean, he's injured now, so they could honestly start him on the the IR, the short-term IR or whatever. But
I think Tyrell Williams also had a groin injury that he was dealing with.
What else is new?
Well, everyone in that receiving room was injured last week. There's literally
Hawk is so good. Hawk I think is fished tight end 3 this year.
Well, he's taking
volume.
He's just going to see the volume on
me just to prove a point.
No, I screwed myself because
I'm taking
week 6.
The people's champ.
Oh,
let's go.
I have 3 guys on my queue. Let's see if any of them last to me. I hope so.
Is this him taking over? You like him as that wide receiver 3? You think he's got that upside that he can really be? He can be that guy? Or are you thinking that he's going to take over Beckham's spot at some point?
I think he's going to take over Beckham's spot at some point.
Yeah, really.
Just talked about when Beckham shared the tweet, that this man's going to be a beast. That's when I was like, that's you acknowledging that you're probably about to be fucking So yeah, I'm all in on Donovan Peoples-Jones to be able to close out a draft. To get him, I'll take him over freaking Mims. Nico, I probably would have had a little bit of debate there, and there was a little bit of internal debate. Kadarius Toney, I ain't trusted none of the Giants. Sammy Watkins, where I'm going to get week 1. COVID Beasley, I'm good on that. Old ass AJ Green, no. So I I liked it. Like that was like to me that was the best prospect right there to close out things.
I like
Like,
it.
outside of Ahmad.
Man, one thing I noticed in this draft is a lot of these. What does Mike Wright call them? The flex with benefits guys. Like we were just talking about Jamal Williams. We were just talking about Jamal Williams. I didn't even realize. I don't know why I didn't even realize I have McKissick and Gibson. I wasn't trying to handcuff. I really don't try to handcuff anybody, but like all these guys we were talking about down here.
What?
Your Murrays, Pollards, et cetera, et cetera.
It looks like we're going one more round. Yeah. What just happened?
Bonus round.
I that was there at the beginning.
That's all right. It's all right. We'll do one more just for fun.
So
that's one more.
Mark, who's going to score
points? This is where the fun part of fantasy starts, right? Sorry, this is the part that we actually do research for. Like all the other people, everyone knows to draft. This is the stuff that we actually care about.
That's right. Z2, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to ask you who's going to start at quarterback for you week 1.
We don't know. We'll figure it out.
He's going to cut Singletary for Andy Dalton. That's what he's doing.
Like I told you. Ain't none of you picking up Andy Dalton. None of you are picking him up. So I'll just take that.
You took Jono from me, man.
Where's Cole Kmet? There goes. Where's Cole Kmet right here? I know Cole Kmet's got to be coming.
You guys are snaking him as fast as I can.
Everett, where's Everett?
And honestly, I would have taken Jonnu before Higbee. I probably would have taken him a little earlier in this draft if I didn't take Kelsey. But the fact that he got there to me in 16,
that's tremendous value.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Like I said, I was thinking him at the 1602. I was going to go 100.
Yeah, no, I know.
Like I'm all on board with that, especially with you having Travis Kelsey. Like really, Jonnu's just a backup plan at this point, unless you're planning on flexing Jonnu Smith out there, which I hope you're not.
No. I've got other plans.
He's not a flex with benefits.
No.
He is getting a nice injury discount though. Right now.
Although he did have he had one nice reception in preseason. Was that 2 weeks ago? He ran that drag route, ran over a couple people.
Yeah, I think he'll get some carries too. I don't think
Mitch has to auto him.
Oh, nobody's going to take these picks. All right, while we're going here, why don't we go through and talk about some of
give him Cam Newton. Give him Cole Beasley.
I'll give him.
Make him pay.
Oh, wait, no, he's back. Oh, shit.
Nope, he's got Cole Beasley. So why don't we go through and just – I don't want you to talk like in depth about every one of your picks, guys. Let's not do that. But give me just a basic idea of your build. We'll go one by one. Julian, go ahead and give me your draft. Give me a couple minutes. We're not trying to go.
Well, I'll just start by saying, this isn't a typical draft for me. Usually I try and attack the running backs early. Pat Mahomes fell to me at the 102. So I was pretty ecstatic with that. And that gives me a really strong foundation to kind of build the rest of the draft around so I can, work on some more high upside picks. And then, I basically just tried to play the board. Took the best value that was there. I wasn't too sure about TJ Hawkinson at the 502, but looking at how this team actually ended up, I'm pretty happy with it because, I was looking at these three running backs, Devonte Williams, Josh Jacobs, and Miles Sanders. And to me, that's just like, we're in the running back dead zone and I don't want to be drafting in there. So to go and get a guy that, I do really like is going to be in a voluminous role. I'm happy with it. So, and then, high upside in Tyler Lockett. I didn't get to talk about these picks a little bit, but Tyler Lockett, Adam Thielen's a guy who I believe in. I do think like we're going to see him regress pretty heavily from last year. He, scored double-digit touchdowns. He had over 100 targets. All that kind of stuff was in his favor. But as a wide receiver 3 for my team with the upside of Lockett and knowing I've got the security of Devonte Adams, I'm happy with it. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this draft played out, and this has been a blast, guys.
Yeah, it's been great having you, Julian. Thank you very much. We'll do sign-offs in a minute, but let's keep going. Z2, give me your draft.
So I like getting Josh Allen at 104. I should have Robbie going to harp on me on this, but I should have stacked Diggs with Allen. But I got the Carr Waller stack, so I'm fine with it. I punted running back, as you can tell, because I didn't like the value that fell to me after I took Robinson. So we're going to play it out as I have receivers and I have a quarterback that you might want, Mark. So we can get running backs like that. I like where Woods fell to me. I thought that was good value. I think Higgins is the number 1 in Cincinnati, so I love that pick there. We'll take a chance on Michael Thomas as my wide receiver 5, and I'm just not going to talk about my running backs because I don't really enjoy any of the ones I picked.
I gotta say, Z2, I think that Higgins is going to be moving up sooner than later, and I mean, here, where did Chase go? I need to find him real quick.
He went
Chase
4 picks later.
He went 4 picks. Okay, so he's past Chase. That was not a thing that was happening all that often before this past week with all the Chase news.
It was always that way for me. I'll just throw that out there.
I think that's the right way to go. I mean, like he hasn't played in over a year, even though he's looked great. You're going to need some time, especially through this crazy year. Who knows what's going on? You know how you're going to reacclimate yourself to football. But I actually wouldn't be surprised if we see Higgins start to rise a little more. He's starting to rise for me. Not that I wasn't in on him before, but he is starting to rise even a little bit for me now. Now that there's like almost that feeling that Chase is definitely not going to be that guy right off the bat.
I think looking at my team, I think it'd be a testament to how deep wide receiver is.
Oh, sure.
And everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. Like, if you decide not to go with a running back early, I think first of all, I think James Robinson as your RB1, like as the lowest RB1 you could find. I think that's actually kind of fine. I think that's okay with me, especially now that he's got that opportunity in front of him. And when you're playing even a half PPR or a full PPR, like how do you lose with that? How do you lose with Hill and Cooper and Woods and Higgins like as your top 4? It's and then Michael Thomas coming. What round was that? Z2? Is that round 11? Round 10?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean
10.
Not that he's gonna be there right away, but I love it. All right, Josh, Dalley, go ahead and give us your draft.
So I mentioned a little bit, on Sleeper, some of the picks are, or I should say the rankings, the default rankings are a little weak. One of the guys that's I think is a little too low on here was CeeDee Lamb, and getting him in the 4th round was pretty appealing, especially after Allen Robinson was gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I thought that pick kind of made itself. But going with Gibson when I did, the only reason I did that is I could see myself getting screwed on like not getting CEH, and I would have to maybe reach for James Robinson. So I'm glad I did take Gibson when I did. Tyler Boyd was another guy I thought that was a little lower on the sleeper rankings than he should have been, and I thought he was a good value. I mentioned I waited from round 6 to 7 for Logan Thomas. I do think that Logan Thomas is kind of like right where that tight end spot kind of cuts off, with Bob Tonyan probably being like the next guy up that I'm feeling after that, honestly. So I feel like that was a position that I had to take care of at that spot. But honestly, with Tobe getting Woods, I felt like that was a mistake. I was debating between Woods and Julio. And if I had to do it over again, I mean, I don't know why, but I have Woods like 7 to 8 spots higher in my wide receiver rankings, which is kind of ridiculous that I would take Julio. So I took.
And it's funny because earlier in the show you went to bat for your man. That was the other thing about it.
Yeah. So taking Woods should have been the move there. Same with Drake. I had Drake. Right there with McKissick, and I should have honestly taken Drake instead of McKissick. And I thought I was around early on some of these training camp and recent news darlings like Sony and Callaway. If I had to do it over again, I probably would have waited around on Sony and taken like Elijah Moore. And I definitely should have took Marvin Jones over Callaway to stack up my guys, but that was just my bad, 100%.
I don't know if I hate Callaway though there.
I mean, dude, so I'm gonna make a statement, and I want to see if you guys agree. Marquez Callaway has been that guy that like looked good in training camp, then he gets a shot, and then he gets injured after he dazzles us for a couple games, and then next thing you know, he's blowing up again in preseason. I mean, this reeks like Victor Cruz all over again.
I could see something like that for sure. I thought he put on some pretty good tape last year too, even when he got his chances.
Great. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think that
I'm not going to go as far as saying he was great, but he looked pretty good. He looks good. He looks like a good NFL receiver on the field.
Well, we know what quarterback we need to get the job in order for Callaway to do some business.
Sure. Yeah. Well, although I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man. If I think that Jameis is definitely learned some lessons probably in his year off. But I don't know if he's going to have that same gunslinger mentality they're going to be looking for, because I think ultimately what they did is say, we want you to be able to do this at a level that can actually help us win games, and you need to make better decisions. And I think some of his upside came from his bad decision making, to be perfectly honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it does worry me, and especially because you've got Kamara as like basically your number one receiver and your number one running back right now. They talk about Troutman. I know that he got injured, but they talk about Troutman, and it worries me that they're just going to play like that either way. Whoever it is, Taysom or Jameis, that they're going to play a much safer game than people are hoping for. And although that Marcus Callaway has shown some pretty good flashes, who knows how many times this season we're going to actually see that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
All right, Robbie, it's your turn. Go ahead and give us your draft.
Started with Derrick Henry, ended with Darrington Evans. Just to have that handcuff. I was kind of happy that happened. I like both my tight ends in Swervin Irvin and Sicky Gesicki. Those are both late round guys that I've been high on. I'm going to continue to be high on. My running backs, okay, they're intermediate. I stayed all brand by getting Henry. Carson's a guy that I have a lot of faith in. Had I saw some other things shaking out, and I should have normally did it, I should have just went running back like I usually do. I tried to switch it up, got a little piece of that last dance up there in Green Bay and Rodgers. Now rethinking it, probably won't do that again. Allen Robinson, first time I've really honestly grabbed him. I usually end up with receivers that I have. I mean, I have confidence in Allen Robinson. It doesn't matter who is throwing the rock; he's always making it happen. I mean, so that's cool. But then also that Matt Ryan, Russell Gage stack, I think that's going to pay dividends for not just myself, but everyone out there in fantasy football land that's managing their teams. Kareem Hunt, he did great. He was still a top 12 running back. A lot of that due into Nick Chubb going down. But I still think that can happen. I still think they're going to split carries, and that's going to be beneficial. Big Ben, Claypool, if I need to switch out, for whatever reason I can, or if I need to use Rodgers as trade bait to get a more superior piece, I have the value in Rodgers to be able to move him for something fairly valuable. Maybe I go ahead and make a phone call over to my homie Mark over there, and we make something happen. So that's pretty much my roster. Damian Harris is just upside, but yeah, that's my roster.
Yeah, I like it. My favorite picks actually are round 7 and 8 for you with Claypool and Harris. Just really great value. I think like Claypool is a very hard, especially the way that this draft turned out. It kind of worked out perfectly. It's a very hard tier break for me, and usually Sutton and Thielen are at the top of that next tier for me. Galladay again, his hamstring worries me. Hamstrings in general worry me. I think you absolutely nailed that pick in round 7. Like he was the last guy you wanted, and then came back around with a guy who's probably going to be a valuable running back for you, a valuable RB3 for you, and even have valuable flex weeks for you.
Yeah, I tried to make sure I had a lot of pieces I could interchange. Hopefully, and my thought process was trying to limit injury risk as much as possible. I mean, of course, it can happen at any given moment, but I wanted to try and keep a roster that could have been fairly consistent throughout, week to week. And I mean, if something did happen, I could I could interchange sub players and probably not worry about too much of a heavy drop off.
To be honest, not for anything. Those first 4 picks are they're like the central casting for consistency. To be honest, Like when Aaron Rodgers is healthy and playing, when Derrick Henry, when Chris Carson and Allen Robinson, all those players are pretty much they're like right on their projections almost every week, barring an injury.
Hey, that was the name of the game here.
All right, Moshi, go ahead, give me your draft, bud.
All right, yeah. So I started off. Obviously, we talked about it earlier. The Chargers stack with Herbert and Eckler. I really liked that start. Then I just kind of pivoted to like best player available once some running backs were off the board and grabbed myself DK Metcalf and AJ Brown. Yeah, we talked about Tannehill missing some time maybe with this COVID stuff, so hopefully it doesn't affect Brown's value there in the beginning of the fourth round. Grab Kirk Cousins as a solid QB2. Always seems to finish, as like a QB 13 or 14 on the year. So I figured as we're getting a little thin, I might as well grab my second one there. I started rethinking if I took Mark Andrews in the sixth round. I've been taking him at the end of the fifth, early sixth couple times. I just don't love what I did with Kenny Golladay. I probably should have went like Chenault over him, maybe even Devonta Smith. But I was like, seeing Robert Woods fall to the end of the sixth round made me think I should have taken like Woods there and really locked in my three starting receivers. But that's fine. I like Andrews there. He's like the last tight end I was going to take. Out of the first 5-6 guys, he's the last of that
honestly,
tier.
I think going there in the sixes. I mean, it's great for Andrews like to be there.
Yeah, I saw him there, and I was like, almost like an instant draft. You know what I mean? Yeah. If I would have started Robert Woods, it would have been tougher. But I'll take him there, and then the rest of the way, Golladay, sure. I mean, around the wide receiver 30 range here, I'll take my chance that he can try to hopefully play some football this year and can do some good things. And the rest of the way, like Ronald Jones, I thought was like a solid RB2. I think I'm not really worried about Fournette until the playoffs come, and by then our fantasy season's over. So I'll ride that during the fantasy season. Talk about Brandon Cooks, Rashad Bateman. I've talked about it on your show before. That I love this guy coming out of college, and hopefully he's back. Mid September. Let's hope for him, get him out there. But I think he can do some good things, and then it all went downhill with my Texans love for some reason. Just worked out that way. So I don't know how that goes, but that's basically what I did. I mean, usually I'm a running back early guy, but when you have like some great values at receiver falling, which they seem to be doing this year in these types of drafts, I had to go ahead and go that route.
To see Bateman in the 11th, and just be that guy who, at worst case, you put in your IR at the beginning of the season and you let him sit for 6 weeks.
Yeah, my fifth receiver, that's fine. I can wait on him a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Sure. All right, we'll go through mine. We started with Kelsey. I knew that I didn't have a shot at those top quarterbacks. I didn't really have a shot at those top tier running backs. I am actually very happy with getting Zeke for my RB1 there at the end of round 2. But so I started off stacking Zeke and Kelsey. Again, in my experience, I've noticed that it's by the time you get to round 3 and 4, all the quarterbacks start to get into that more ambiguous zone. Tannehill I like, and I probably would have taken the news took me off him just for this week, I suppose. I probably in a different world might have taken him. But I really did like the value that was still there at receiver, because I often find that one, there are obviously a few tight ends that go, but then it's mostly quarterbacks and running backs in those first 2 rounds. So in the second round coming around, if you run out of quarterbacks, especially if you're in the position I am where you have a running back and a tight end, I don't think you should be afraid to just take two stud wide receivers, get that locked down so you don't have to worry about it later on, and then come back around. I think there's a lot of upside in guys like Fields and Lance, and I get that they're not named the starters and everybody's trying, but they're doing these coaches are doing everything in their power to stop the mob from telling them to start these players. There are a lot of them seem to be NFL ready. Trey Lance, I get that he might not be there right again. Garoppolo went the 16th round. Dalton's going undrafted. So I like taking a shot on that upside because I felt very comfortable with my top 4 picks. I was getting an edge with Kelsey, getting an edge with Zeke, with Jefferson, with McLaurin. And so after that, I just said, you know what, give me some upside with my quarterback because that's the way that if I'm going to win this league, I'm going to have to do it on those low value, high upside guys. So I decided to go there. Trey Sermon, another high upside guy to be my second running back. Love Devonte Smith and Juju going to me that late. Devonte Smith, I think, is going to work out just fine. He probably will be that number 1 wide receiver. You're worried about the injury, but whatever. Then ended up with some high upside running backs and wide receivers to end the draft. And even though everyone's thinking it's Jameis Winston, until it's official, I will still take Taysom Hill. Especially when I need him. I know it's Jameis. Don't remind me, but I will take Taysom until they say it because there is that last effort that it might happen. And knowing Jameis, there's also a likelihood that he will not be there playing the whole season.
Hey, I ain't hating. I'm just talking shit.
He said it.
Oh, it's good.
He's trying to make himself feel better about his quarterback situation, guys.
I'm talking myself into it, guys. I have like a unhealthy amount of adjust. This is not even the worst. I've done some like some one quarterback things. Like best ball. We're not going to get into that on air. We're gonna in best ball, like if I take a 1 quarterback, I'll go with Fields and Lance, and that's it. There have been some super flex where I've gone Fields and Lance, and that's it. And it worries me, but I'm still very excited about it. So it is what it is. I'll just like any other league, I will figure it out if it doesn't work out. There's always opportunities to do that if you grind and if you find your way through that league. Everybody's going to have weaknesses. You can exploit them and find ways to make your weaknesses your strengths at that point. Guys, it's been a great year here on Primetime Mock. It's been 14, 15 weeks now that we've put together. I've grown a lot. I've learned a lot from putting together this podcast. I'm very happy that I could share this last one with all of you out there. Everybody, it's been a great year. We're really excited to move on to.
You got to move the draft board. You got to move the draft board.
Oh, thank you, man. We're really excited about coming back and going to Primetime Draft with fantasy football. But we will be back with Primetime Mock next year in the off season again. Everybody, let's go right through. Chris, tell them where they can find you, man.
So besides with you at Fantasy Football, you can catch me at teamriserfall.com. I had an article come out this morning, and also at goingfor2.com. And I'll be live Thursday nights at 7 p.m. at the Dynasty Gambit, part of the Going for 2 live podcast. So see me there and find me on Twitter at the Commission FF. Thanks for having me on, Mark.
Love it, Chris. Thanks for coming, man.
Anytime.
All right. Josh Dalley, go ahead and give him your info.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter at JoshDalley72. It's kind enough to put it right here for everybody, so you can go ahead and check me out. I just wanted to remind everybody you can check out me and my co-host Stephen Tironi on the Hot Take podcast, pretty much wherever you find all of your fantastic podcasts, whatever platform you like. And we'll be doing the Hot Take live. I'm a terrible co-host. My bad, Steve. I don't know if it's this week or next week, but we're going live every Friday at 9:30 is the goal, and we're going to be doing kind of like a low and over under like we did, Mark, when you came on, and that's all inspired from our new partnership with Thrive Fantasy. So Thrive Fantasy, you guys can definitely check it out. It is a awesome player prop platform. Try saying that 3 times fast. Right now we are doing a 100% deposit match bonus, so you can kind of get on there. I just use promo code Hot Take, all one word, HOTTAKE, and we'll see you guys at 9:30 on Friday. And Mark, I appreciate you having on, man. It was a blast.
Absolutely. Anytime you want to come on, when we come back, do these best balls. I want you back on. If you're going to it, we are trying to get Thrive in Pennsylvania right now. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yo, Pennsylvania, y'all need everything. The amount of freaking consumers that watch my shit that are in Pennsylvania, they're like, I'm not allowed to gamble.
I know it's awful, man. I have to drive to New Jersey sometimes to make my bets. It's been a rough year.
Yeah, we were last to get underdog.
Now that best ball is here, I'm feeling a little bit better. But man, the drive to New Jersey, even though it's not that far of a drive, it's annoying, man. Robbie, go ahead and give them all your info where they can find you.
Y'all know who I am. All right. Rumboyz.com, Rumboyz Fantasy Network on YouTube. Catch y'all Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, for a lot of fantasy football debauchery. In a very controlled, just toting the line, pushing the envelope sense.
You can call it that.
Easy. You call it exactly. Download the Sports Me app. Everyone should download the Sports Me app. If you are a fantasy football analyst, if you are a content creator, what up, Herms?
What up, Hermie?
Hey, we got Herms Terms. We got Herms Terms coming to you guys. We have Jordan Barnett coming to you guys Saturday nights with DFS. Like now, I'm like, all right, now I gotta represent my staff and like, fucking shout shit out. Tobe dropping graphics. Yeah, Tobe dropping graphics. Wallpaper Wednesdays going down. Yeah, download the freaking Sports Me app. It's a new, really awesome technology where we can exchange information and ideas, in a face-to-face essence, get your questions answered, fantasy start sits, injuries, props, over-unders, whatever you need advice with, whatever you need help with. If you just want to debate, feel free. If you really think LeBron is better than Jordan, all right, I'll debate that with you. If you think that, Randy or Jerry Rice is better than Randy Moss, I'll debate that with you as well. I don't care. You can hop on the app, say, and do whatever you want. But yeah, Rumboyz Fantasy Network. Google us. Shit, just fucking Google it.
I love it. I'm on the Sports Me app. I've got myself signed up. I got to get myself more active on that Sports Me app because it does seem like a really cool concept.
Yeah, once you get it. Part of your daily routine and part of your daily grind. It's another place where you can, share your knowledge and share your wealth of knowledge. And we actually have a new UI coming out, an updated version coming out in 2 weeks, in a week. So yeah, so be on the lookout. A lot of big things. Tobe,
hit him up, man.
All right, well, you can find me on Twitter at Z2 Fantasy. I do all, if not most, of the graphic work for Real Deal, Triple Play Fantasy, and Rumboyz Fantasy Network. And I have Wallpaper Wednesdays every Wednesday. And if anybody needs a graphic for an article, YouTube video, my DMs are always open.
Got that nice Chase Young out yesterday.
That was I saw that.
Anytime you need a graphic, you got to go find Z2. He's got some cool stuff out there. All right, and finally,
or if you want to learn how, I've had conversations, video calls, teaching people how to do what I do.
Hey, if you need to learn about SEO, hit me up. I will teach you with my busy schedule, but I'll fit you in. We'll have an appointment. I'll actually teach you.
I love that. Yeah. The other thing I've noticed, like in my 15 weeks being here out in this fantasy community, is just like everybody, if you are willing to go get it, everybody's willing to help you, man. Yeah. Like if you are willing to go get it, if you're a nice person, you're nice to people, you are willing to interact with them, like everybody is willing to help you out, man. And that's one thing I love about this community.
Yeah,
100%. You reach out for mentorship, and I told you, I was like, yep, I got you now.
That's right. That's right, man.
Anybody starting a new show, dude, you'd be surprised how many times I've reached out to guests that I just thought were so much better and bigger than me, and then they like, hey, will you come on my show? And you'd be surprised how often the answer is yes. So, man, go out there and shoot your shot, man. The worst that can happen is you get a no or like hit me up after the season when I'm not so busy. That's
right.
Shoot your shot, guys.
That's right. All right, and finally, we've got Julian Barnett from The Point After. Go ahead, tell them where they can find you.
Well, Mark, first, I just want to thank you so much for having me on. This was an absolute blast. And, I love what you guys are doing here with the Primetime Mock Network. So this is just a really cool idea. And I'm excited to get in on some of those best ball drafts. You're going to have me back on again to be contributing to that. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter at @thepointafterff. You can find all my work over on the True North podcast network over on YouTube. You can also find our website and all my written work, all of our numerous writers. We have over like 15 people writing articles for us now. We're dropping one almost every single day. So you can find that over at truenorthffb.com. And yeah, man, that's really all I got. I just wanted to, this was bugging me when you were talking about your team. I noticed you took Zeke ahead of Dak Prescott. And I wanted to ask, do you think Zeke outscores Dak Prescott in a Superflex league? Just real quick as we close off, or is this a roster construction thing?
So for me, again, right now with the injury and everything that's coming out, it does have me a little bit scared. To be fair, I've been drafting a lot of Dak.
To be fair,
and right now I am in the spot where I am. You know me, man. I'm in the spot where I feel like I can't own any more Dak, if that makes sense. So you're probably getting that for me. I'm in the spot where like I was buying a lot of Dak beforehand. Now that he's coming out, I gotta pump the brakes a little bit on Dak. So that was probably my thinking. In a vacuum, I probably would take him over Zeke, but. Yeah. Again, no,
that's fair. It's totally fair.
If he doesn't hit the amount that I have him, I'd rather just try and find another asset that I do think is going to be healthy that season. Like, anything could happen. And again, this is still another COVID year almost, right? Like we're going to have these issues in and out of the season, and like Robbie said, you don't want to have those question marks that. You don't need on your you don't need that in your life early on in the season. You need to win games. You need to get yourself positioned for the playoffs. Yeah. And it's going to happen. You're going to have injuries anyway. Why start with them?
Yeah. Right. No, totally fair. Just last thing I got to say, everybody, it seems like has a show on Friday nights who's on here, but you can find me on the True North Podcast Network on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. I go live. I'm going live with Chris Robin, Detroit Beastie, as well as Coach Craig Sport. We're doing a DFS show every week moving forward into the season. We're going to be covering Sunday night games, Monday night games, as well as some monkey knife fight prop bets and different stuff throughout the year. So it's going to be it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a blast. You can check out Monkey Knife Fight, use promo code TNFF and get matched up to $50 on your first deposit. And then, next week I got Pat Fitzmaurice coming on. I'm super excited to bring him on. And then, tomorrow, Mark, we got you, Chris, myself. So it's just make sure you come check us out. And then you can have 3 monitors open, watching all 3 shows. We got Josh at 9:30. We got Robbie over on one monitor, and then you got the point after where you can just be consuming as much content as possible. So thanks again for having me on, man. This has been a blast.
Everybody needs a USB port so you can just download all this into your brains. No, and that's what we're really looking for. And Julian kind of pointed at it, but Primetime Mock is becoming the Primetime Fantasy Network. Maybe I'll be proactive enough to change over the signage sometime this week on YouTube.
Love it.
But you will see. I'm taking a little break this week and next, and then we're going back into best ball drafts on Wednesday nights, and you will see in the fall fantasy football coming out. It has been a great season here on Primetime Mock. I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. I've loved this journey that I've had this first 15 weeks. I'm so excited for the next leg, the next chapter in my career here and my time in the fantasy community. Guys, cheers to all of you. Thank you for coming on out there. We will be back. Have a good weekend, everybody.